Welcome back to Interjections. Fresh off a 1-0 victory over Roma, we're here to break it down for you and preview the busy week ahead. I'm your host, Andrew. Jay, Irfan, and Miko with me. Jay, what's happening?
Yeah, not much. Good to return from the international break with a win for once. So, can't have too many complaints, I guess.
I'm sure you'll find something to complain about. Irfan, what's happening?
I'm sure I will too.
No, everything's good. Like Jay said, definitely happy that we got a win right after the international break. Even more happy that the international break's over since it took so many of our players, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But no, it's good to get a win against a difficult opponent, and happy that club football's back.
Yeah, I know you in the audience don't have the privilege of seeing Irfan the way I do, but he's actually wearing a I Heart Aslani shirt, R.I.P. Aslani right now.
I am in mourning. It's true.
Miko, you claimed you were going to miss this episode because of work, and you're here anyway, which begs the question of, do you actually have a job?
Yeah, yeah. I have a job, but it's flexible. It's flexible, and I was confused with the daylight saving time. So let's see. I should be able to do this.
I think what Miko really means to say is this is his job and he lives off our advertising revenue.
That's right. Like and subscribe.
Send Miko's kid to college. Smash that like button. Okay, so let's get into the Roma match. Big win yesterday, 1-0 over Roma. It was not a dominant performance, but it was an effective performance. There are, in a quest to not be too negative too early in the podcast, we'll save that for later. There are three key positive notes that I want to highlight. The first is that we kept a clean sheet for the first time in forever. Strong defensive games from De Vrij and DeMarco carried the team. Summer was my man of the match. He was great in goal. Nice save on a Pellegrini long shot. A couple nice saves from closer shots in the box. The only really awkward moment was that ball in the first half that he juggled off the post, but thought Summer was excellent. The second positive aspect was Lautaro once again just slowly waking up, slowly coming into form. He scored a really nice goal. I don't know how he won that loose ball after Frattesi had crossed it in, but he made good contact, drilled it over the keeper, nice and hard, unsavable. And even though we only had 70 minutes of him yesterday, fresh from the international break, he looked good. And as a result, we looked good. We're going to need this guy. And he's, like I said, finally showing some signs of life. Can't help but be happy about it. And my third positive take from this match is we won this match by overcoming some adversity. We all know about Inzaghi's horrible record after international breaks, and we were dealt a harsh blow early when Hakan goes down, and then 10 minutes later, Acerbi goes down. So not only does that destroy our substitution blocks, because now we only have one more block of substitutions available to us later in the match, but also just changes the way we have to play. We have to drop Barella to Regista. I mean, I thought we were pretty dominant for the 10 minutes Hakan was on the pitch, and that all went by the wayside as soon as he had to come off. And we didn't miss Acerbi that much, but still, to lose two starters that soon into the match is never great. And not to mention, we were missing Zelensky and Aslani in the midfield, so it was all hands on deck. We were really short bodies, but despite all this, we got the job done. We got the 3 points. We survived, and have to give us credit for that. So, Jay, what do you think of the performance yesterday? What are your key takeaways?
It's a weird one. I don't feel like we played particularly well. Having said that, I don't think Roma played particularly well either. I think across the balance of play, we probably edged it in terms of who deserved it more. It was a game destined for a 0-0, in my opinion, especially following those two injuries that we had. I felt like we were a little bit tame following those replacements naturally, and as a result, our attacking play kind of suffered for a while, and I didn't think like we created a great deal of clear cut opportunities following those losses. And so I don't know if we would have found a way to score were not for that chance we did actually score from. Also, Roma didn't create a ton of clear cut chances either. So, as mentioned to me, it seemed like the game was destined for a 0-0 until we scored. And yes, somewhat fortuitous in that Zalewski slipped and gifted Fratesi with a break, and his poor ball for Lautaro was completely fumbled by that idiot Zeki Celik, and Lautaro managed to smash it home. I'm going to go on a mini side rant here and just say, look, I don't mind Roma, but it just blows my mind when they just buy all these absurdly terrible wing backs. I'm talking back from like Vigna, Karsdorp, Celik, who else do they have? Bruno Perez, etc. It seems like every time I watch Roma, they just have some new crap fullback out of nowhere. And in any instance, he was the one who critically gave up the ball in a very dangerous position for Lautaro to score from. I will say that I'm still a little bit concerned about Pavard. I thought De Vrij was pretty good when he came on. Barella showed his importance despite only just returning from injury himself and spending a large part of the game outside of his natural position as well. But look, overall, I think a fairly uneventful match in some ways. Yeah, I'll end up by saying I think we deserved it for sure, even if just slightly.
Irfan, what did you think of the midfield yesterday? Obviously, Hakan goes down, no Aslani. We have to slide Barella over to Regista. Fratesi has to play 80 minutes. I thought they played well, personally, all things considered. Doesn't help that you had absolutely no subs available on the bench, but what do you think? And are you concerned if Barella and Zelensky and Aslani have to miss multiple games?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they played okay. I do think we lost a lot in the midfield once Hakan went off, but Barella did an admirable job, I think, kind of filling in. The three of them seem to work okay together. Vertezi, I still like every time I watch him play, there's just something missing about his overall kind of well-rounded game. He still seems way too one-dimensional to me. But overall, I thought the midfield did a good job. Again, like you said in the beginning, because of all the adversity. And like what Jay was mentioning, I think we were lucky that this, even though it was destined for a 0-0 result, I kind of feel the same way. It definitely didn't seem that Roma were content with 0-0 because they still were attacking, and their attacking actually gave us a lot of opportunities. So it was just an interesting match all around, but I think we did just enough to get the win. So good job for the team to kind of overcome all the adversity. But the midfield overall, I think, was okay. But I really don't want to see Hakan lose too much
Miko, what do you
time
think of
because I
the
think we're
match?
going to struggle against better teams.
Sorry, it did that thing where Irfan cut out, and as a result, I thought you were done talking.
That's all right. It should be fine. Go, Miko.
Anyway, go Miko.
Yeah, I think it was a quite cagey match. It was a hard match from the beginning in a sense that I think the pitch was terrible. And when the pitch is terrible, usually we don't play that well. Now in the first 10 or was it 12 minutes, like you guys mentioned, we played pretty good. We had I think we had the matching control and so on. We tried to create chances, and it was going well. But then the Çalhanoğlu injury happened, and I had to actually check the first 12 minutes. I had to see it again, and like how did it change so much when Çalhanoğlu went out? And I don't think Çalhanoğlu was too much involved in those first 12 minutes. Of course, he's there in the right areas, and the movement is maybe better. And when Barella is there and not Fratesi, that might affect our overall play. But immediately when Çalhanoğlu went out, it felt like Roma took control, somewhat control of the match, and we didn't play that well anymore after that, and that's I don't know. Well, we know Çalhanoğlu's importance, but it's a bit concerning because we talked about Aslani and how what is his impact versus Çalhanoğlu, and it's a concerning when Çalhanoğlu goes out at this point. We need to really hope he's gonna be fine for the Juve match. We can hopefully handle young boys without Çalhanoğlu, but for Juve we need him. But yeah, the rest of the match, it was very hard and demanding match. We saw it after the final whistle how they were totally done. Our players they were totally done, and they were very happy to get the win after such a. It felt a bit of a struggle at the end, and it wasn't like in a good control in the second half. But on a positive note, we defended pretty well. We didn't let Roma create chances too much. There were this one, was it Pellegrini, who had this shot outside the box in the first half. That was pretty dangerous. And then I would say maybe Dovbyk had that header from the corner. When for some reason Darmian was marking him, and I noticed that earlier in the match that okay, Darmian is marking Dovbyk in the set pieces. Why is that? And that felt a bit scary. And then came the header chance came for Dovbyk, but luckily he headed it wide, quite like a few meters wide. But that was a scary one. Other than those two, I don't think they had almost anything too serious. If you want to look the stats, the XG for both teams was about 1, and that maybe that tells a lot about the match. There wasn't too many clear-cut chances for either side. I think we had pretty good counter attacks or attacks in general, but we kind of fumbled almost all the time those attacks that we couldn't get a proper shot of. I think Thuram blew a few of them. Correa had one, and well, Dumfries had 2 shots. But in general, I think we fumbled a few of those counters which could have led at least to a shot on goal. So of course the XG numbers in a sense don't tell the real truth like it never does. But yeah, injuries, they were unfortunate. Hopefully the guys are going to be okay soon. And yeah, I was very happy to get the 3 points out of this match. This Roma away, it's not an easy, even if the record for Inter is pretty good in recent years for this matchup. But still, this felt like a hard one after the international break, like you mentioned, guys. So yeah, we're very happy for the 3 points.
Yeah, Thuram was getting a bit of flack yesterday. He, like you said, Miko, he had the 2 counters, 2 that come to mind where he made the wrong choice potentially. The first one was in the first half where he was alone on the rights and he cut in on his left and didn't really end up even getting a shot off. And then in the second half, he had Frattesi on a breakaway and he elected not to pass it to Frattesi streaking down the middle of the pitch and instead tried cutting it in, and it was a poor effort. But I still like his involvement. I still like that he's really one of our only options available to us on these counters because he's the only one with a bit of pace. So I'm not going to be too critical of the guy.
And I'm gonna comment quickly on Thuram.
Sure.
I liked his general game, like not maybe these counters and the decisions with the ball, but how he played this kind of a target man when we gave him a lot of aerial balls to win, and I think he won them pretty well. He trapped the ball and he drew fouls everywhere. I think his overall game was quite important. Keep some kind of a, I wouldn't say control, but some kind of a like a don't lose the ball every time we throw the long ball out there, because Roma's pressing made Sommer open the game with the long balls quite a few times. So I like Thuram's game in that sense.
Yeah, I thought Thuram was the better of the two forwards yesterday for pretty much most of the game. The difference is Lautaro had that moment of individual brilliance, which we needed to win the match. So, of course, he gets all the praise, but Thuram was very well involved, and I was happy with his performance. The You also mentioned Dumfries, who had two near misses on once he came onto the match. If you look at the Gazzetta player ratings, Darmian was our lowest rated player yesterday. Dumfries looked solid, had a couple of good chances, no defensive issues, which begs the question, Jay, why do you think Darmian is still starting these matches? Do you think Dumfries is eventually going to overtake him, or do you think this is going to be a ride Darmian until he can't be, until Inzaghi, doesn't have a choice and an injury happens or a yellow card happens?
I don't think Darmian was poor, to be honest. I thought it was fine for the most part, but the problem, I guess, is that with Darmian, there's just one, there's an age factor, and to his credit, he doesn't show it that much, but there's just an inherent lack of risk taking. There's a inherent lack of attacking flair and speed, and these things are at the highest level. They make a difference. I've spoken about this many times. It just takes one drop of the shoulder to beat your man and get a cross in. But with Darmian, that's like there's a 0.01% chance of that ever happening. And just having a guy who can do that 5% of the chance is already a colossal improvement. So naturally, just inherently, the way our game is played, we're going to want someone who offers a bit more. Ironically, Dumfries isn't much better either, but he's still got a little bit more power, a little bit more pace than Darmian, so he can kind of surge past the defender and get a cross in. He's more physical, so he's more likely to win headers and get in there at the far post and score these goals. And he's been on a real rich goal scoring run for his country, right? And that's the kind of contribution we need from our right wing back, or our wing backs in general, but especially our right wing back, considering how much of a playmaker DiMarco is. Given our budgetary restraints and the fact that we are such a system-based team, we're already getting the most out of the players that we can. When you have a player like Darmian, like that sponge is already squeezed very dry. We're getting maximum value out of him, and we're not going to get much more. And that value is only going to decrease as he gets older. And so it's important that Dumfries, especially if he has signed a new contract, which hasn't been announced, by the way, so still some question marks over that. But Dumfries, for all his faults, obviously, like I said, more powerful, probably a more viable goal-scoring threat. So we can probably extract a little bit more value out of him in this system. And I just want to quickly touch on the strikers, though. I thought yesterday was a prime example of Thuram very frequently making the wrong decision on the ball, and when he was trying to facilitate some counterattacks and some forward momentum in the transition, I thought he just kind of, I thought it was like a lot of flash with little substance, just going for these back heels and one-touch passes and things like this, which again, if they work, that's great. If they don't, it's immensely frustrating. And so for me yesterday, I didn't think Thuram was particularly good. You said he was the better out of the two strikers. I would agree for the first half. For the second half, I dare say Lautaro was a bit better, but I thought both were pretty mediocre for the most part. But as you mentioned, Lautaro got the goal, and that more or less cancels out a rather uninspired performance. And yeah.
Yeah, I've got actually two bones to pick with Inzaghi, and one of them is what you already mentioned. I don't understand why he keeps playing Darmian over Dumfries. I think Dumfries has done enough, both on the offense side and the defense side, to be a consistent starter over Darmian. I don't get it. I think, Jay, you're being way too nice about this. I don't think there's much of an equivalence between the two. I think Dumfries is significantly better at this stage than Darmian is. So I really don't get that. And the other thing is, why the hell do we see Correa in this game? Why did he sub in Correa? That makes no sense to me. Like I would have kept both forwards on or brought in either Arnautovic or anyone else. Literally, Taremi would have been fine. But why did we see Correa in this? That made no sense. And of course, he came on and did nothing.
I think he did like okay, nothing special, but his role was to basically play as a left midfielder. I saw a comment that maybe he should have rather put Carlos Augusto in and not Correa to play that role, because we basically played 5-4-1 at that point when Correa came in, when the triple substitution happened. But I think he actually played okay covering that left side. There was DiMarco and Bastoni, and both were like totally done. And I think what Inzaghi was thinking about is that, okay, I need to take at least one of these out. And he decided to take Bastoni out and bring in, or brought in Bissek, and then he took Lautaro out and not DiMarco, and then like changed the formation. I think it worked pretty well, given that Correa was able to cover the space so that they wouldn't be able to throw any free crosses there all the time. And
they paying this guy 3.5 million to cover space. I think Taremi would have been superior in every possible facet. I mean, we've seen, or at least I've been really impressed by Taremi's fitness. And, what was it, the game against Red Star, where like maybe in 3 goals he had direct involvement in? I think 2 goals he won the ball back high up the pitch. And, that's one thing we've all been noticing, is how effective he's been in his pressing, and that would have been, I think, a really useful attribute to have in this game. But instead, as you said, we brought in Correa and he didn't do anything wrong. He was there, but like I said, I don't know. For me, it was just like, yeah, sure, he was fine, but we could have got the same and more from Taremi.
Yeah, maybe he was saving Taremi for the Champions League match, and like he's probably going to play the 90 minutes against young boys. But more of that later. But yeah, I'm not sure what's the point. Maybe Inzaghi wants to use Correa to like simply rotate their forwards more, like spread the minutes more, because he has 5 of them available. And maybe he just like how do you say it? He wasted those minutes with Correa rather than use Taremi, because the role was just to cover the space and be there, and not, his role was not supposed to like do anything special. I think Correa had like 1 or 2 kind of plays where he was able to triple forward, but he messed up those chances and nothing came out of them. But yeah, I would see that it's just spreading the minutes over the different players. I can see no other reason why he would be using Correa otherwise.
Yeah, it feels simple to me. It's you wanted to save Taremi for young boys, and that Arnautovic only has 20 minutes in him a week, so you're going to save him for 20 minutes against young boys, and as a result, you tell Correa to go run and hope he doesn't screw up. Any final thoughts on the Roma match before we preview what is a busy week ahead?
I wanna emphasize the importance of the win, given that all our rivals got the 1-0 wins as well, right? Yeah. So we were in a like a pressure spot schedule wise to get a result as well. So I really appreciated how the team battled through the match, even if Roma wasn't like spectacularly dangerous or anything. But but I think part of that was the team defending by Inter yesterday.
It was an important match, and if you look at the bigger picture, like I would say Inter's performances this year in the league have been like a B minus or a C plus. Like we have not been good, in my opinion. But despite like us clearly having another level, us clearly having another gear, we haven't yet hit. We still managed to get this win. We're still only a couple points back of Napoli in the table. And if we're able to do the job against Juve next weekend, I think you can feel pretty good about where this team stands in the league and think that our goals are still achievable. Now, it's difficult because we should have a built-in advantage right now, right? It's like we're the ones who aren't breaking in a new coach. We're the ones with a largely consistent squad. So you'd think that at Juve, at Milan, at Napoli, they're only going to get better as they start to gel more, as as they have more time with their coach, assuming Fonseca doesn't get sacked. So on one hand, it's disappointing because you would like to see us stake an early lead, but we haven't played our best. We clearly are capable of more, and we're still hanging in there. We're still right behind Napoli. So it was a big win for sure. I mean, if you lose yesterday's match, you drop points in yesterday's match, this conversation would be a lot less happy. So credit to Lautaro for getting the job done. So let's talk about Young Boys. If we're being completely honest, for this game against Young Boys, the only real question is how much can you rotate without dropping points? Because this is not a good team. They're struggling. They're in the relegation zone of the Swiss league table. The Swiss league's a little weird, but anyway, they're like the bottom three of the Swiss league. They have not played particularly well in the Champions League thus far. So the question really is, how much can you rotate ahead of the Juve fixture, and who can you get away with playing? So I think the obvious call Miko alluded to, which is Taremi is going to start, Taremi is going to play 90 minutes. It becomes a little more difficult in the midfield because you just don't know who's going to be healthy. But I think at this point you have to assume Hakan does not play. Even if he's fit, you need to save him for the Juve match. So that's where it gets a little dicey. You're probably looking at 90 minutes from Fertesi. You're probably looking at 90 minutes from Mkhitaryan. You also have this German midfielder on the bench, this Primavera kid who might get some game time if this match goes the way Young Boys' other Champions League matches have gone. It's probably worth mentioning that Young Boys' previous two Champions League matches so far this year, they have conceded 8 goals. They have not scored in a 3-0 loss to Aston Villa and a 5-0 loss to Barcelona. So, Irfan, what's your approach for this match? Who are you starting? Who are you benching?
Yeah, I don't. It's tough to say. I mean, it kind of really depends on who's available. I mean, I wouldn't play a Cherby. I wouldn't play Hakan, like you said, even if they're available. Um, Taremi seems fine to play, but honestly, I would kind of take the approach where I would start as many of the starters as I could, just to get out to like an early lead. So I wouldn't even mind going with a Lautaro Thuram forward line just to start the match, and then by halftime pull them, that sort of thing. I'd rather do something like that than the way Inzaghi likes to do it, which is to not have them play and then come on as subs later on. I'd rather have like a more organized team out there for the first 30 for the first 45, 60 minutes, and then give players rest. But just given what we know about Inzaghi, I think we know that he'll probably rotate quite a bit. He'll start Taremi. You'll probably see, if Aslani's available, you might even see Aslani starting. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. It shouldn't take much to beat them, like you mentioned. And I think a lot of the team selection will just depend on who's available. But I would definitely rest as many of the players as we can. But I just don't think we'll be able to do that because of the injuries. So I don't know. Let's see. I'm hoping Dumfries starts because, like I mentioned, I really don't think Darmian deserves a starting spot. But maybe he'll save Dumfries for Juve. I don't know. It's an interesting thing with Inzaghi. It's really hard to say kind of where his head's at. I think I would be able to predict it better absent all the injuries. But given all the injuries, I think it's a real wild card on kind of how he plays it. It'll be interesting to see. But thank God it's young boys and not somebody else, because the team selection might actually matter, but in this case, it really, really, really shouldn't. So just kind of interested to see how it all plays out.
What's the deal with your love child Irfan? When is Asllani expected back?
I don't know. I don't think it's like a serious injury. So I think he just got a knock in training or something like that. So he should be back, but I don't know.
Yeah, you
No
have to
idea.
assume they're all. You have to assume they're all out. I think Asllani, Zielinski, Acerbi, and Çalhanoğlu. As far as I'm aware, and I could be wrong, I thought they were all like minor kind of muscular injuries, which take like 2-3 weeks kind of thing. But 2-3 weeks means that they're going to miss both these upcoming games, and it's just a really unlucky time for us to pick up these kinds of muscular injuries. Like I said, if that's what they are, but I could be wrong. This is one of those games where we should be rotating. Is the game at home or away?
Away
Away
match. Yeah.
makes it a little bit tougher, but as Andrew mentioned, if these guys are, -8 goals and, coming third last in the bloody Swiss league, then we should be dispatching them with minimal fuss. But yeah, it's impossible to make any calculations at this point without knowing who's available. I would actually start Taremi and Natovic and just I mean we beat Red Star with them, did we not? Or did lautaro start?
Yeah.
I can't even remember.
Yeah.
But
I think they both started. So
yeah, I think they should start again.
yeah, I'm pretty sure they both start in this match.
Yeah. As for Asllani, like man, I'm like torn between. I feel bad for the guy, and at the same time, I'm frustrated at the guy. It's like, is it his fault that he's injured right now? Obviously not. It would be absurd to blame him. At the same time, regardless of whose fault it is or isn't, the final result is that the one time we actually need him, the one time he might actually get some, like a series of games to start, he's not fucking available. So we can't we can't rely on him right now, and it's kind of like the whole Zielinski's in the exact same in the exact same basket, but I guess Zielinski has a little bit. It's kind of funny. It's not that like it sounds absurd to say Zielinski has a little bit more goodwill than Asllani, considering Zielinski's been here like 2 months and Asllani's been here 2 years. But I guess that goes to show what we haven't yet seen from Asllani, and likewise, the promise that Zielinski, that we're still relying on, I was still hoping to see from Zielinski. It kind of reminds me of Gosens, the time when we actually needed him, he wasn't available as well, and that was just more bad luck, like I said. So yeah, kind of just torn between being frustrated at the circumstance and feeling legitimately sympathetic to Asllani, and at the same time being just like, fucking what a useless fop. The one time we need him, the prick is injured. So what can you do?
Yeah, I think Asllani won't be ready for this match, but I saw a report that Zielinski could be ready, so let's hope he would be available. And I just read that Çalhanoğlu won't be ready even for Juve, so
there's no way.
Sucks.
Guy goes
That
down
sucks.
mid-game, off the ball, no contact or anything, is pulled up with like a muscle injury, and like I said, it's like minimum 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out kind of thing. So we should assume these guys are out for the until the next fucking international break.
Yeah, and Acerbi will be tested like was it tomorrow or day after tomorrow, so he's out as well, most probably not gonna leave, gonna leave for the trip. So it's a bit of a reduced squad now, and yeah, let's see. I assume the strikers will be from the bench, and Augusto, Bissek, De Vrij, and then what we have left in the midfield.
Irfan, buy or sell? Would you take 35-year-old Milan Badel from Genoa on a 6-month loan in January?
And send Asllani alone?
Yeah. Straight 6-month loan exchange. Asllani for 35-year-old Milan Badel.
Irfan's refusing to answer the question because he doesn't want to speak truth.
I think I might have dropped out. I'll rephrase that. Andrew, buy or sell?
Oh, that's an easy buy. But He's a pretty good player, honestly. Like I remember him
Yeah,
in his
he's not bad. It's not bad. He's still played for Croatia until recently, I think.
Yeah, like
Serie A regular for many years.
I remember him at Fiorentina. Like he was always a pretty good player. I have more confidence in him coming off the bench. I'm sure Inzaghi would too. Inzaghi loves his like slightly, slightly over 30 to mid 30-year-old player.
Miko, buy or sell?
Sell. I'm not going to take any more of these veterans. It's enough for veterans for me, even for me.
But what about Zeko? What if I offer
That
you
that
Vidal and Zeko for as long?
that's a different different trade then.
You
Yeah.
wouldn't take it? I'd be very, very tempted. He's got exactly what we kind of pine for when we see Aslani, which is he brings like a kind of calmness to the situation because he knows what he's doing. He's been there for he's been doing this shit for 20 years. You know what I mean? Aslani's been alive for 22 years. So like, he's been doing this a long time. He's been playing football at a high level for a long time, even though he's old as fuck. Like he's experienced, and I feel like that could be a legitimate, maybe not the whole swap thing, but I do feel like a loan, 6-month loan, should be explored. Like I said, I'm really in support of such a short term kind of thing. Looks like Irfan's back. Irfan, did you hear the question before you left in protest?
I'm not dignifying any of that with an answer. We might as well just edit out the last 5 minutes of nonsense that's been spoken here.
But buy or sell, you taking a 6-month exchange for Aslani and Milan Badel?
No, absolutely not. Stop. No comment.
Irfan pleads the fifth.
Plead
He
the
doesn't want
fifth.
to incriminate himself.
Pleads the fifth, like all Patriots do.
By the way, what Andrew, you were talking about some German kid. Who's the German kid?
All right, let me get this name. So I know I'm going to mispronounce it, but let
Baron
me at
Bach or
least.
something. That Primavera kid who came. You got called
Ah,
yesterday.
yeah, but he's not German.
He's not German.
He's bred and born in Italy, Milano.
All right, I stand corrected.
Never would have guessed it from his name,
Yeah,
like
maybe.
Hans Baron Bach or something.
Yeah, I saw the name. Was like, oh, this dude's German.
Yeah, I think he's a bit more offensive midfielder. I think he scored a few goals.
I'll tell you what, that kid has scored some sick goals for the youth team every now and again.
Yeah,
I won't pretend that I've watched a split second of our Primavera this season, but every now and again, like the Inter goal of the month thing pops up on Instagram, and there's always one token shit goal from the women's team, and then a couple of goals from the youth team, and usually they're screamers from this Berenbrook kid. So
yeah. But yeah, he's probably going to be in the squad like he was against Roma. But especially now that there's 2-3 midfielders out, so there's gonna be probably more Primavera kids in the squad traveling to Bern. Maybe it's Bern.
Yes, it's Bern.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't want to belabor the point on young boys. We're running a little low on time, so let's get into the derby next weekend against Juve. Obviously, a new look derby since this is the first Thiago Motta will be participating in. I don't know about you guys, but when Motta joined Juve, I thought he was going to solve a lot of their problems in terms of goal scoring. I thought he might help at the time unlock Vlahovic and Chiesa. Obviously, they swept Chiesa out of the squad. Vlahovic hasn't really come alive, and this team doesn't look all that different stats wise as it did under Allegri. When you talk about this, is a team that plays excellent defense that has struggled to score goals, which I think is an accurate summary of what Allegri was in his later years at Juve. So yeah, this Juve team is a clean sheet machine. They've looked good in pretty much every match I've seen them in. I mean, every time I watch them, they go on long stretches where they do not score goals, which I suppose is an advantage for us when we're missing so many key players in the midfield. but I think it's a genuine question of how are we going to break these guys down when you consider just how well they play defensively as a team. Now, the calculus we don't know is what this team's going to look like. I believe Bremer is out long term with an injury. Their other center backs are like Gatti and that Kalulu guy who sucked at Milan. So maybe they're going to be a little more susceptible with Bremer out, but it's been a good team this year. They're definitely a realistic Scudetto challenger, and we're kind of still waiting to see what the final iteration of Juve is going to be with Thiago Motta, because I have a feeling they're eventually going to become more attack friendly. It won't be so much of this 1-0, 0-0 type thing. So, Miko, what are your thoughts on Juve? And I know it's a little tough to preview this because of all the injuries and all the questions surrounding our team for the Young Boys match, but maybe more broadly, just what do you think of Juventus and what kind of game are you expecting?
Yeah, they've been excellent defensively this season, and not so excellent offensively, apart from the Champions League where they have scored pretty well. Uh, I don't know. The Çalhanoğlu news doesn't sound good to me. I don't like that. So I'm a bit worried that it will be a bit harder match for us, like this Roma match was. Then on the other hand, it's on San Siro, so the home crowd is there. I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough one for sure. Uh, I think if we play like against Roma, that we try to keep the thing pretty tight, like we did yesterday. Maybe we can squeeze goal from somewhere. But yeah, it depends a bit how many players we have available. I do hope Zielinski is available by then, because we need players to our midfield badly, and I'm not totally comfortable starting with Aslani if he is available. It's really a tough one now that the Çalhanoğlu is out. I gotta say that, but yeah, good thing is the Bremer thing. Unfortunate for him that I think he's out for the rest of the season. So that's a tough one for them. That I think that should help us a little, maybe, if we can manage to create these kind of a one versus one situations in their defensive zone. Thuram can maybe challenge one of their center backs and so on. But
Well, we have a bit more of a speed advantage with Bremer out. Gatti is not fast, and I don't think Kalulu is particularly fast either. Whereas Bremer is fast, and he can keep up with and outmuscle the likes of Thuram. So we need to stretch them. We need to make chances for Thuram to run at their defense, and hopefully, something more will come of it than it did today. But I agree overall with what you're saying. But given the injuries.
I gotta quickly comment that I think the midfield will be the key, like almost always in our matches. If our midfield is playing well enough, that's like half the victory already. So that's why I'm a bit concerned how our midfield will look. But but yeah.
Okay, so let's do some predictions. I know it's challenging, but whatever. Let's just do it. Miko, give me your Juve prediction.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna predict Inter win this time, so I'm gonna go with 1-1. A bit more downsiding this one. Çalhanoğlu news. 1-1.
Irfan, where do you fall on this one?
Yeah, I don't know. The injuries make it very, very difficult for me. I'm actually going to go 0-0. I think we'll be able to keep a clean sheet, but I don't trust our ability to score, so I'm going to go 0-0, especially if Hakan's out.
Jay, what are you thinking for this one?
I'm thinking Juve look like shit against a 10-man Lazio, and eventually scored some bullshit own goal in like the 86th minute. I think they're up to their old tricks again, so I'm gonna pick a 1-0 Juve victory after an absolute turd of a match, with them scoring some trash goal late in the game.
This guy, classic.
I don't have a good feel for this game. We're too far away from it. There's too many open questions in terms of who's going to play. But I hate Juventus with every fiber of my being. So give me a 2-0 Inter.
Goals from?
Taremi and DeMarco.
I thought you were going to say Arnautovic.
I'm not going to pull an Irfan and just turn the segment into a joke, okay?
Oh, man.
I just want to say Retegi's looking like a fantastic player this season. I honestly think he might be one of the best players in Serie A right now.
I refuse to pay him any compliments.
Definitely the best player. Definitely the best player on his team, without a doubt.
He's the best active, healthy player on his team, for sure. Okay, well, sorry for the abbreviated episode this week, guys. A little tough with our scheduling slot, but we'll be back next week. We'll make sure we give you good content to recap the Juve match and young boys if necessary. So we will catch you all then.
All right, thanks, guys. Catch you later.
See ya.
Aren't you going to sign off with Forza Inter?
Yeah, come on, Miko.
Well,
not feeling it.
It's yeah, it went past the moment already.
Okay, Forza Inter. There you go.
There you go.